Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday at 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I'm Ashley Obley. Joining me on the couch today, Ciaran Marchant.
It is, in fact, Ciaran Marchant here in the flesh, the one and only.
Digital flesh.
Digital flesh, but for me, I'm in the flesh, so, you know, it is what it is. Welcome to another week of Arcade Couch. How are you today, Ashley Hobley?
I'm doing pretty well. So, we've got an interesting show this week. Someone's relapsed into a certain video game. It's not the one you think. Talking about some video game delays, and I'm going to talk about a documentary here on the show. Some video content that's not video games, but adjacent. Also, Dylan may or may not be doing a segment about the Video Game Expo. Depends if he feels like it or not, from the sound of it. But go to explosionary.com. He's got a full article up about his experience at the Game Expo. It's worth checking out, but yeah, we'll save that in case he does show up. Otherwise, read the article. But Ciaran, let's jump in. You've been playing Destiny 2.
Yes, I have been. This week, Lightfall, because I keep getting the name wrong when I talk about it. Lightfall. What? No, that's Buzz. No, it's Lightfall.
Oh.
No, god damn it. No, it's Lightfall. I keep calling it Lightless, which in the grand scheme of Destiny story, that is kind of could have worked. But no, Lightfall expansion came out this week. I have only barely scratched the Lightfall DLC because
how many hours have you been playing Destiny 2 this week?
Okay, so when I started, my Steam was roughly like 3.5, 3.6 hours of Destiny 2 because that's all I'd played since Destiny switched over from Battle.net to Steam and its own Bungie client. The last time I played was the Forsaken DLC, which was 2018.
That's a while ago.
That is a while ago. So coming back into it, Destiny's a whole different fucking game now. In terms of a lot of the systems have kind of been tweaked and improved. There is the whole battle pass concept in it. There is a whole bunch of content that's come out, of course, because of the multitude of expansions. So this week, I'm up to 3.6 hours played. So that's roughly 50 hours of Destiny 2 content. It has helped that I had a 5-day weekend this weekend with a trip I took on Thursday and with a public holiday tomorrow on Monday here in Victoria. I got plenty of time to jump in and play. So I've actually been playing with a friend and we've played through all of the campaigns from the previous expansions. And then we're just about to set up with Lightfall now. I'll be writing an article this week about what it's like to be a Destiny 2 player returning to Destiny after a long period of time, because for Destiny 2 is not the easiest to jump into game if you haven't played in a long time. They do a good job for new players.
Isn't that the same for any MMO or multiplayer game?
Yes/no. I think sometimes it is. Okay, Final Fantasy is an example I'll use because that's the other MMO I've played the most. That one is really obvious what the main storyline is. Where the main storyline is, where you're up to, what you need to go and do. Destiny 2 is designed in a way that if you were to join today and started playing Destiny 2 today, and you just bought Lightfall, you could just start playing from Lightfall onwards. You wouldn't need to play through any of the previous expansions. You wouldn't need to do any gear, because the minimal gear score is now 1600, and that is the kind of the starting off gear score for Lightfall. So anybody can jump in and play it and just start playing the new content. I think the thing I found hard is going in and learning the old content is kind of not learning the old content, but like trying to find where the old content stops.
Playing the old content.
Yeah, playing the old content is actually kind of hard. It's not always obvious where it starts, and as my friend and I learned, it's actually hard to find out where it ends. One of the campaigns, Shadowkeep, that we played through, we didn't realize we'd finished the main campaign, and then we spent maybe another 5-6 hours doing like end game content from that expansion, which we really didn't need to do, but it just kind of naturally carried on and progressed from that campaign. I'm loving it. Of course, I am for fucking putting 50 hours in already. But you know me, I think I'll have another week of probably putting in a similar amount of hours, and then I'll probably burn out and move back to Overwatch for a bit. But it's been a lot of fun. There is so much to do in this game in terms of just content, even from free to play. I think free to play can be a bit lacking in terms of story content. The free to play game only has kind of this opening, maybe 3-4 hour section that's very easy to blast through. And then everything else that's left with the free-to-play content is more grindy stuff, more kind of just your basic running dungeons and strikes, doing your PvP, and you don't get access to a lot of things. Like
So a lot of the original story from Destiny 2 was behind a paywall.
A lot of the original story for Destiny 2 just doesn't exist anymore. So a lot of the original Destiny 2 Red War campaign, I don't believe you can get to anymore. You can still get to like Forsaken and onwards, but you can't get to the original campaign anymore with it, from everything I've seen of the game so far. So it's interesting. I actually watched listened to a catch-up video before I started playing again to kind of catch me up to everything that happened prior to the expansions I need to jump back in on. But it's interesting that Destiny is a game that is so integrated with its free-to-play market. I was a bit curious about how well the Battle Pass works in it, considering it's very different to any other game I've ever played with a Battle Pass. But I'm really thoroughly enjoying the Battle Pass. You are pretty much always working on something and working towards something and unlocking things on it. The fact that you get a exotic, which is like the highest level kind of equipment, just for purchasing the battle pass, you get the I can't remember its full name now, but you get a bow at the moment. You get like an ice bow that like freezes people while you're using it, and it actually naturally levels up as you're using the battle pass. And actually, as you're completing the battle pass, I think there's so much in the game to explore and do still. I'm excited to jump into Neptune. Thank you very much to the team at Bungie who provided us a code for review. So I will be putting through a review in progress probably later in the week, and then a full review once I've had a bit more time to marinate. They've just had the first raid's just been relaunched and released, and they've just had the world first race for the raid for Lightfall. I think there is a lot of... I think it's weird. It's funny looking at the minute, Lightfall is the most negative release in terms of player and audience reviews that they've ever had. If you go onto your Steams or anything, Steam is just all negative reviews at the moment. That is largely from everything.
So player reaction.
Player reaction.
Not critical.
Not critical. I think we're still waiting on critical reviews because it's an MMO. It does take a couple extra weeks for them to come out. But the writing of I've been told the writing is poor for the expansion. But I think a lot of players and because it is very important to the Destiny community, the lore is important. That's why they reacted to it so negatively. Destiny's gunplay is still the best guns in any game I've played. Destiny is like peak Bungie gunplay. Like, it is so much fun. I'm loving the range of guns that I get to play around with, the bounties that push me to use different guns on different days, the range of different content I'm exploring and playing around with. It has like the best PvE/PvP game mode ever, and it always has since it was released, which is Gambit, which is like a PvE mode, but you're like racing against the other team to kill things and kill waves of creatures and beat the final boss of that area first. And then it also gives you the opportunity to like teleport into the other team's like level, and you can try and kill them, and if you kill them it adds health to the boss monster and everything. And it leads to some really fun and really enjoyable both PvP and PvE gameplay that we've had. So Yeah, no, the gameplay of Destiny I think is so much fun. I'm loving it. Just dipping into the Lightfall content now with the battlegrounds I've been doing today, which are a lot of fun, and it's a great way to grind gear and to get gear. And there's always something nice in MMOs about of getting that gear score up and always progressing and playing through variety of content. I'm excited to. I think I'm just about to, I'm just finishing off the Witch Queen expansion, which was last year's expansion, and then I'll be diving into Lightfall early this week, and getting through that. And I'll have my comments on the story, because the story I love stories in general. But
how have you felt about the DLC story content? So
it's hit and miss.
Yeah,
I think some of them are very good, some of them are not good. Some of them, like there's the one I said, the one I said earlier that I didn't realize it ended and we kept playing content for, Shadowkeep. I think that for me is the worst out of the bunch that I've played. So I played all of the major ones. At the fact that the way it ends like it doesn't, like, I guess expansions.
I mean, if it doesn't have a definitive ending and you accidentally were playing other stuff, says a lot.
But the thing is, I guess the way Destiny's set up, and unlike other MMOs, so when I'm comparing to Final Fantasy has its own contained story in its expansion, but at the same time, it's a wider ongoing story. Whereas the campaigns for the expansions of Destiny are only like the start of that segment. So there's more story comes out in the raids, in the season missions that happen throughout the year, and the bits and pieces that come out from there. There's a whole bunch, like when you jumping from campaign to campaign, it's very clear that there's information missing that is important and vital to the story. I think it's just how Destiny treats its story overall and treats itself as a live service ongoing game. That it does, you do miss out by not being there for it. I think I'm very excited, and I think I'm very, very pumped for the whole year and for what that entails.
Awesome. So you think it's still a good time to get into Destiny?
Yes, I still think it's especially if you have friends that want to play it. I don't know. I think I realized when we started it again, for me, this is an itch I've needed to scratch for a little while. This kind of looter shooter MMO game that is about kind of mastering your class and learning and understanding builds for the class and playing around with different guns. And I think it's for me, it's like kind of come at the perfect time for me this year. I think there's a couple games coming out at the end of the month that I will be trying to jump into, but I think this is definitely between this and of course my forever love Overwatch. I think these are my main focuses at the moment.
But you, after you finish this DLC, do you think you'll stick around, or is it?
Yes. Definitely. I think it is something I can jump in. I think once I am kind of at the end game content, I can like sort out my build a bit more, be a bit more stable. I can then it can be something I just jump in and out of each week. Like I'll play for a couple hours every week, get my weeklies done, get my get like the season week quests, because there's new quests every week coming out, new kind of content coming out every week. But yeah, I think it's something that I can definitely do as part-time with it.
Cool. It's good to hear. It's crazy to think that Destiny 2 came out like 6 years ago. It's still
I couldn't believe it. Like I
because I went to look. I'm like, we still have a VOD of you playing it through it the first time up on like one of our random YouTube channels.
The VOD channels. Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, no, it's I loved it when it came out.
So if you want to see how it originally was,
the VOD, we always had that meme about Nick buying Destiny a couple times when it came out, and taking it back and like grabbing it again, and people have dipped in and out throughout it. But yeah, I think it's really fun, and it's a good thing, even if there's a few missteps by Bungie here and there.
move into a little bit of news. Suicide Squad has been delayed. In a report published by Bloomberg, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has once again been delayed, moving from its May release window out to later in the year. From a report, reading a tweet from Jason Schreier, it says Warner Brothers and Rocksteady have delayed Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League once again from May to later this year, according to a person familiar. A showcase of the game during the PlayStation stream last month was poorly received by fans. Whether that directly ties in, I don't think you're actually on that episode where we talked about the Justice League footage.
No, it was not.
The Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, they're just heavily inspired by something like a Destiny, but was not what fans were wanting from a Suicide Squad or a Rocksteady game. Yeah, just the framing of it is quite interesting. How they're saying, "Oh, it's not like whether the poor response is the reason they're delaying it." Because I don't think there's any way you could fix it from how people were responding to it.
There's no way you can fix the fundamental flaw that is the
gameplay,
the gameplay, and the type of game that they've chosen to make. You know, it's the biggest audience reaction was just like, "Hello, did you fuckers not just watch what happened with Avengers?" And I get it, you're already in development, but like, Avengers is dead and gone. Why do people, why you saw the backlash that was the audience reaction to Avengers, what, 2-3 years ago now? Like, that should be enough time for you guys to pivot away and start with something else, or to go back and do something else. Like, I don't, yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe they thought they could do it better.
The problem wasn't that Avengers was bad, because I enjoyed Avengers as a single-player game. It was just...
well, that's the key, isn't it? Are enough people going to enjoy it as a single-player game to justify putting it out? Yeah, like I said during our previous podcast, I'm optimistic still on the game. I think, I have faith Rocksteady will deliver something good, but yeah, I think it's interesting... Obviously, interesting timing of like they have this massive push, their first massive reveal of the game, and then it's suddenly delayed. It's like, we don't want to jump to coincidences all the time, but yeah. I mean, other than gameplay, I don't think there was much wrong with what they showed. Other than what the game is, it didn't look like there was anything wrong with the game. You know what I mean?
To be honest, that footage and that presentation talked me out of buying the game, because I was on board with playing it, and even knowing beforehand it was going to be a game for service, but it didn't look like a Rocksteady game. It didn't look like it was going to have that same polish and attention to detail and love for the content that we kind of expect from them. It just feels weird that a studio like Rocksteady, with how great they've been in the past with their previous series, is going into Suicide Squad with this kind of cookie cutter, generic live game for a service game.
No, I mean, it's hard to create a genre, really. You know what I mean? Like they did with Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, Arkham Asylum came out and created a genre, sure, but it's not like nobody's been doing this. It's not like it's like they've expected to.
But does every single new game from a studio need to be completely wholly original?
No, but I think right, you don't. How do I word this? Okay. I think studios have their signatures, right? Like they have the goodwill that their fans have built up from it. And I expect, I guess from Rocksteady, I don't expect, I expect what they're putting out, I kind of expect from like a Ubisoft studio. I don't expect from them to kind of, for whatever they've put their stamp on and worked on. Yeah, I just didn't expect it from them, and I expect this from a double A studio or kind of a lower tier studio that's been kind of handballed this project and said, "Hey, make this." Not Rocksteady, who I would think would have the clout and have the respect to do what they want with a project.
I mean, yeah. It's interesting because obviously they've had like very long troubled production on this project. Obviously, Arkham came out, I want to say 7 years ago off the top of my head. Arkham Knight. So, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in between. Apparently, another project kind of got scrapped. But yeah, I mean, if they want to go in a kind of different direction, and at the time, it was, assuming it was like 4 years ago.
Arkham Knight was 8 years.
It was 8? Freaking hell, that's crazy. So yeah, like, I think they started on this project like 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, if that would have been, before Avengers and that kind of stuff, they were probably chasing more the Destiny, Borderlands kind of crowd with this sort of game. But yeah, I mean, if it's not successful, you know what they're going to do. They're going to pivot right back to something more akin to Batman Arkham. Yeah, I guess it's just a wait and see. It's just like a very interesting move. And obviously, so much is happening at Warner Brothers at the moment. It's like, anything could happen.
Yes. I don't know. To me, it just feels... This game just feels like kind of is giving me the same impression as the DC EU. Like, just that kind of rushed, not doing it because we want to do it, but doing it because somebody else is already doing it.
All right. Another massive delay this week, but signaled as a launch date. Reading from Polygon, Bethesda Softworks announced a new launch date for the upcoming sci-fi RPG Starfield, a massive galaxy-spanning game that builds off the Elder Scrolls gameplay and structure. Starfield was originally announced in 2018 and set for a November 2022 launch. That date was later pushed back to the first half of 2023. The new release date is September 6th. Todd Howard says, in the launch date announcement video, we have poured ourselves into this game and even surprised how much we can pour. It is large. Ciaran, what are your expectations for Starfield? Do you think it's a smart move pushing it to later in the year? I think, don't know off the top of my head. Obviously, the big Xbox game now at the start of the year is going to be Redfall. So I guess it's good that there's kind of spacing these things out. Yeah, how do you feel about Starfield?
As the resident Xbox fan, this might say a lot. I already thought Starfield was a Q3, Q4 game.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of thought that too.
Like, I think I'd already, like, mentally, like, I don't know why, I'd mentally, penciled this in for October. So, if anything, it's been brought forward a month. Like, if anything, it's been brought forward a month, because I didn't see them bringing them out at the start of the year. I think the start of the year is too crowded for them to bring the game out. I think for them to move into kind of the more the later half of the year, which is crazy to think, it is the potentially the more open point of the year. It's not going to run into Zelda. It's not going to run into Diablo 4. It's not going to run into Final Fantasy 16. Well, God forbid if any of those games kind of get moved back. Redfall's going to have its own space now to kind of breathe and to be the Xbox game. I think overall we're in an overall better spot and better situation for it.
I mean, some people have pointed out it comes out a week after Baldur's Gate comes out, so
yes,
massive RPG fans will be,
But then again,
overworked.
Baldur's Gate 3, a lot of the people that have wanted Baldur's Gate have had Baldur's Gate for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that isn't as much of direct competition as if it was kind of a fresh release alongside it.
I mean, they're not exactly the same game.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't imagine many people are going to be playing Baldur's Gate on consoles.
Probably not. But yeah, I mean, Starfield is just that game that keeps... Is it ever going to come out? I mean, it definitely seems like they're working on it and everything, but yeah, if it's... The hype around this and the discussion around it is kind of interesting. like you said, you hadn't even realized that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is regarded as this massive Xbox game that needs to come out.
Yes. But I just presumed that it was going to be a later year thing. I just hadn't even... Like, I don't know, it seemed to be the right time for it to come out would be September, October. I don't see there being a need for it to come out earlier in the year if you're going to have Redfall and if there's going to be all these other games coming out at the start of the year anyway.
Yeah, so what? They've got... they've got Minecraft Legends in April. Forza is also meant to come out this year. And then, Redfall. So, yeah. I mean, it's good that there's games coming to Xbox, you know? That's always a plus. Starfield.
Actually, can I need to put in a new story. I need to blindside you with a new story.
Oh, no.
I need to blindside you with a new story.
This isn't how this podcast works. I'm the one who blindsides people.
No, I know, right? Okay, I'm going to talk off the top of my head. I don't have a news article directly to go off for this one, but that's fine. So officially this week, the ongoing saga of Microsoft versus Sony in all things the Activision Blizzard deal continues with the filings becoming public in the UK proceedings for the deal overall. Unlike everywhere else, the UK actually has to publicly post the filings and publicly post what has been put in place by anybody kind of involved. And so Sony's statement and their initial kind of press was put forward for this one. Off the back of Microsoft coming out and signing a 10-year deal with Nintendo and a 10-year deal with Nvidia on support for Call of Duty going forwards. It was announced that, or kind of rumored, that the same 10-year deal had been put in front of Sony, and that Sony had yet to sign anything. Part of the Sony filing for this one was the fact that they were worried about the gaming experience and the potential for the gaming experience to be affected due to Microsoft's sole ownership of the Call of Duty, directly citing things such as the game running poorly on their console and being made to run poorly, kind of like intentionally being made to run poorly on the PlayStation 5 compared to Microsoft's own console. And kind of, the whole directness was, just Sony's over worry about how Microsoft would handle Call of Duty specifically, and kind of this has gone forward with Sony suggesting that the deal for Activision Blizzard can go ahead as long as Microsoft sell off the Call of Duty studios first. That they sell those off separately and they don't go to Microsoft, and everything else goes to Microsoft is what Sony has requested. But kind of we're at that point currently now, where they're in a bit of a standstill until that proceeding goes forward, as well as all the other proceedings. I guess there is the speculation and rumor that Microsoft has signed these deals with Nintendo and Nvidia to kind of put pressure on Sony to be like, hey, we want to...
Everybody else is agreeing to it.
Yeah, everybody else is agreeing to it. Your big worry is that we're going to pull Call of Duty off your console, but we want to commit to at least the next 10 years of your console getting this game or this franchise. What do you see of it going forward at the moment from a Sony fan?
Sony fanboy.
Yeah. I wasn't going to
check out Platinum Explosion every week to listen to my random thoughts on it. Sony. I think it's interesting because obviously we've always felt like this story is inevitable. Eventually, Xbox is going to get what they want. So, if they're going to get what they want, take the deal. Pretty much they've said, you can put it on your subscription service if you want for the next 10 years.
That's the thing.
If we do the same.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they are worried that they're not going to be able to put the Call of Duty games onto the PlayStation Plus catalog or onto at least giving it away. And Microsoft came out and said, "Nope, you can do it at the exact same time that we do it."
But then, on the other hand, do they want that? Because they probably make more money off players buying a copy of Call of Duty on the PlayStation than they would from people
Well, this is
joining
the
PS
thing.
Plus.
This is the thing.
You know.
This is the thing. I think, as we already know from the differences with how each company is handling their subscription service, Microsoft is all for chucking their new releases, their day ones, directly onto Game Pass. Sony have already shown they don't want to do that. So in this statement, Microsoft's like, we're going to chuck it onto Game Pass. You are more than welcome to also chuck it onto your catalog at the same time. And Sony, even though it sounds like that,
we're throwing away all this money.
Yeah.
How about you throw away all this money as well?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it in many ways, Microsoft is so engaged and is so comfortable with the Game Pass model that it can say this, and it looks like it's the right thing to say. But from Sony's point of view, it's kind of putting them into a position that they don't want to do that. They know how much money that the Call of Duty can generate without having it to go to onto their catalogs, onto the PS Plus catalog. Mm-hmm. And so now it's in Sony's court, and it's a very, very crafty business decision by Microsoft to put this out publicly and kind of to say it publicly.
I mean, they took out ads in in newspapers.
Yeah,
so
to say it publicly,
which is very old school,
is, now it's the balls on Sony's court, because if Sony has the ability and the allowance to chuck this game directly onto its PS Plus catalog, and it still doesn't do that, then as a consumer,
I'm sure there's like strings attached. It's not like, hey, you can freely
not
stick
freely,
this onto,
not freely, but like
I'm sure there's a certain dollar amount involved.
Sure, but I think it would be the same dollar
that they would
amount.
have to pay a subscription to Xbox, which is going to be infinitely more than what Xbox is going to be charging Xbox to put it on their streaming service. You know what I mean?
I think that's just the
yeah.
But I guess it at least makes that. The thing is, it puts Sony in the position where it's like, okay, Sony, are you going to bite the bullet for your fans and take the potential financial hit? But you could, if they took that financial hit, you would think that they would have to recoup that in subscriptions afterwards, right? Like, what more of a boost to their catalog system would it be if there was Call of Duty on that shit?
Yeah, but they don't really care about the subscription.
But that's the thing. That's not
the biggest. It's not their primary focus.
Exactly. But that's the thing with Microsoft. When Microsoft's like, we're happy giving
subscription services are driving every industry into the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Microsoft is happy with putting it on the subscription service, and Sony isn't. And you know what? At least from my point of view, it shows that, Microsoft audiences are getting looked after in that term. That they are being able to do Game Pass, and that as Microsoft as a company is willing to do that. Whereas Sony turning around and saying, no, we're not going to do that. We want the game, but we still want our customers to be paying for it directly. Even if we have the option to put it into our subscription service and the offer is there. I think it says a lot about kind of Sony being kind of greedy.
Really? Because again, they're footing the bill for whatever amount they have to put the subscription service on the subscription service.
Isn't that doesn't that,
rather than them taking absolutely no risk, a zero risk investment in keeping the game, the players having to buy the game. You know what I mean?
But doesn't that say something to the players though? When
Sony is a business.
No, but the thing is, right, it's not like Sony just gives away the game for free. It's like people are still going to be paying subscriptions, and on a if somebody...
What it says is the subscriptions aren't covering the costs.
The thing is, right, okay, so compared to your $80 or $90 or $100, depends where you buy it, for your Call of Duty, right? Instead, somebody pays the monthly fee of like $15 for the year. You're getting more money in the long run out of that, right? Like,
I mean, potentially.
Like,
if they're only getting it for this,
yeah,
this game,
and and it's Call of Duty, right? People are going to buy it for Call of Duty.
Yeah.
If Call of
Duty, I mean, I personally think they should take the deal, bite the bullet, I think there's no way this ends well. Yeah, I don't think it ends. There's no way it ends well. For PlayStation, I think take the 10 years, spend the 10 years planning for Call of Duty to leave PlayStation, 100%. And hopefully Microsoft kills it off in that time.
Potentially.
Who knows? 10 years is a long time.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
We're already 36 minutes into the show, mate. Come on.
All right, keep going. What are we talking about? Where are we up to?
I mean, hey, Dylan, we were just talking about, about Microsoft, and Call of Duty, that was a one-sided argument about.
Yeah, I'm sure Ciaran won.
Yeah, I think I did actually, but it's fine.
I kind of conceded they should just take the Call of Duty deal, put it all, just be done with all this bullshit. Here's my question. No, I was about to ask this. So part of the discussion is that Sony says, you should sell off Call of Duty before the Activision deal goes forward. Which one do you think is more important to Microsoft? The Call of Duty stuff or the rest of Activision Blizzard?
Call of
Duty.
So if that, it's not even.
I think if Microsoft would give a decision between Call of Duty and the rest of that company, they would happily give away the rest of that company and just take Call of Duty.
Interesting. Yeah, I
think the rest of
one franchise property is worth it.
When it's
more than the rest
Call
of
of Duty, yes. When that franchise alone outsells majority of the rest of that. In between its full release games, not only its full release, but also Warzone on top of that. Like, even though Warzone is vastly hated by a lot of people currently because it's not in a good spot, I think as a whole, it's still worth way more than the rest of that company is.
All right. Dylan, you're here.
Yep.
Fresh off a plane.
Yep.
So you're at the Game Expo this weekend. Do you want to talk about what the Game Expo is, how it was received, what it was like?
I was trying to so I don't know, like, let's go this direction.
Okay.
From your perspective, outside perspective, what do you think the Game Expo was, and how do you reckon it went?
Am I talking with or without
the knowledge of what
the knowledge of the pictures that I've seen of the event?
No, that's with the pictures. That's fine. Like,
well, okay, I'll go through all three, right? Beforehand, I thought it was going to be something more akin to the Esports Open in terms of like a couple areas with like big screen setups with lots of chairs to sit and watch esports being played by different teams at different tournaments, and then some exhibitions or like some kind of creator spots, an artist alley, an area for people to bring their own PC and play games, kind of a lot of more low-key in terms of it. From what I saw, it looked kind of empty. From what I saw of the pictures of the event, it looked like there was a lot of open space around the exhibition hall.
Yeah, to me, it was pitched as a PAX alternative. This is the gaming expo event. That was the opening line of the pitch or whatever. So when you say you're the gaming event, you better be comparable to PAX. And from what I understand, it went in a different direction. Well, it had different aims.
Yeah, so I've put up an article where... Did you read it, Ash?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I was like, in case I didn't get the show up. So I feel like I'm pretty nice with my criticism.
Oh, you're far nicer than some of the people I've seen.
Yeah, so this is the difference between actually writing something and just giving hot takes on Twitter, I guess. But so the major problem is everything that you two sort of just said, which is that the marketing, the perception around the event, totally wrong. I don't know whose fault. I don't know who you can point the finger at and say for that. A lot of the people coming to the show who didn't like it thought it was PAX Lite or PAX, like a mini PAX at the start of the year, and that was sort of the pitch that they thought they were given. And I definitely feel like the event, maybe that's what they were trying to do when they announced it, with their whole slogan about like for gamers and all, like all this sort of stuff, because it's very much like, it seems to me like announce show, come up with slogan, figure the rest out later. That sort of thing. What the show actually was, and it's hard to say because, like, I'll put it this way: the show, and in my article, I make sure to say the show wasn't for me. And I very much know that, and that's fine. It doesn't mean it's like a show not being for me and for other people doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad show. The problem is that a lot of people just were misguided in thinking that the show was for them, and thus got annoyed when they showed up and were highly disappointed by what there was and wasn't to do at the show. So I get there Saturday morning. I do a lap. For people who have been to PAX, the easiest way I can describe and put into place where this event took place, it took place in the area where you line up for PAX. Like that room that you line up for.
That was it?
That was it.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
That's
that
so
area
small. People
that you
paid
line up for.
$200 potentially to go to it.
I don't know how many people paid $200.
Well, if they got the VIP,
For a weekend
if
pass.
they got the weekend pass was only like $90 or $80 or some shit.
Weekend
VIP.
pass was like
The VIP pass
like
was like
$40 a
$200
day or whatever. Yeah. So we'll get to the VIP stuff because that's a huge plus. I'll come to that, but so the show itself on the left-hand side, Artist Alley, really good. I still have slight criticism. So the bunch of stalls, you had people, bunch of local people selling stuff, which is always great to see because they get a way to, get money and like sell stuff. Like there's nothing really bad to say about it. My only slight negative is that I wish there was a bit more variety on the people that were there, because although a lot of the stuff worked for me, like I like all this like chibi Pokemon art and like all that sort of like the cutie Pokemon art, that's all fine. Like, I'm like, how about if that doesn't work for you? What, like, and that was it. I'm just like, is there a bit more? Can we get a bit more versatility, a bit more range in the type of gaming pop culture art stuff? Because
I think that's probably a difficult thing to tackle. And
I know that's the majority of like what people do.
Yeah.
But like it's still something that stands out.
Yeah, because obviously those people who probably came to do Artist Alley and that kind of stuff are people who do go to events like Supernova and that kind of stuff. And that art style obviously works, and that's a prevalent there as well. So that side, the Artist Alley side, that very much walking up and down there, you feel like you're at a Comic Con, you feel like you're at a Supernova, like the stalls and everyone, that sort of stuff. Fine. Top left-hand corner, cosplay stage. Opposite side to that, the first-person shooter stage thing. That's where they had the Apex one. I don't know how many. Like they probably had like 5 rows of 10, so maybe seated 50 people at each at a time, sort of thing. Not a huge like amount of chairs, right? Down from if I'm doing like a road around it, like bit down from that stage, like they had all the area blocked off where all the creators were doing the Apex and stuff, and like you had to have a badge to get in there or whatever, because they didn't want people coming in and being like, oh my god, I love your Twitch streams, insert someone that I don't know. I see these people and they're like, oh, that's so-and-so. I'm still doing that thing, and people are like, oh, that's so-and-so. I'm like, I don't know, fucking look them up, and they've got like 50,000 followers. I'm like, cool story. The bit further down from that, they had a fighting game stage. That one. So here's my other little problem. So with all these stages, right? So the main one up here where they're doing the Apex thing, it's just the same stream that they're live streaming to Twitch, being played on a big screen, which is weird to me because I'm like, well, what's the aspect of being here? Like, what do you get out of being here compared to the one further down, the fighting game stage? I think they were streaming that too, but the difference was that because it was a fighting game, it was only 2v2, the people versing are right there in front of you. And then the two people commentating on the other side, right there in front of you. So even though it's still being streamed or whatever, you've got that element of like, you're seeing the people in front of you live, compared to the Apex stream. Those people were off in a different room somewhere, and then all the creators were in a blocked off area. So it's just like you're sitting there watching. I'm like, there's nothing like,
exciting about seeing this live. You know, like if you go to if you head on down to what the fuck's next month?
DreamHack.
DreamHack. So DreamHack, big stage, right? And then everyone playing there in front of you. So the aspect is you're seeing
it's like going to a sport.
Live.
You're actually watching the...
Yeah, like you can still technically watch it on TV, but you get to see the competitors IRL sort of. Like there's that aspect of it. So a bit further down from that, they had the BYOC, bring your own computer area thing. Very popular. It's always been very popular at PAX. I don't fully understand it, but that's fine. They had a Smash Bros stage. I'm pretty sure I saw the same 6 people sitting there for entirety of Saturday, so they just love that. They were just eating it up, just Smash Bros. And then they had, I think, 3 Australian indie games there, just random. I thought there was supposed to be more, 6, but I walked across. It was like, cool, played that. And then suddenly it was WarioWare. I was like, either someone's done a very good job at ripping off WarioWare, or that is literally just WarioWare. So that was odd. They had 4, 5, I think, like board games with people like, you know, same as PAX. You know, you could write your name down on a board and get shown how to play the game sort of thing. They had a board game renting area. So if you want to, like, you could rent out a board game from this library and like similar to PAX. Good Game was there. They were running Magic the Gathering drafts on sign-ups if they had enough people. They had the typical Good Game shit where they're like, oh yeah, we got like really cheap stuff. But then if you look at their stuff, you're like, it's the same fucking prices, which is always just really annoying. So, but I see people buying this shit. I'm like, don't buy that shit. Like, you get cheaper off your phone right now. Like, fucking hell.
But it wouldn't be in your hands right now.
It's true. The only good thing worth buying there is they have those mystery boxes, like $60 for like 3 board games, and there's the odd chance you could get, you know, some good games for cheap. That's the only thing worth buying, I feel like, for those Good Game stalls. And Good Game is at every fucking event is the problem. Like you go to Comic-Con, they're there. Supernova, they're there.
PAX, you're there.
PAX, they're there. Like, I know whatever event, they're there. Any event. That was it. I don't think I'm missing anything. I think that's the entirety of the show, right? So you can walk around and see everything in 10 minutes. Now, this is where my first problem comes in, because I get there Saturday, I do a lap, I go, cool, small, fine. Like, I'm going in with an open mind, right? I'm like, that's fine. Like, there's not much to do. But I was like, I went in going, this is probably going to be an event where it's about, like, sitting down and watching some of these, like, games being played and, you know, getting to be part of this community that I don't know much about. Let me get in. Let me dive into something. Walk around. Nothing on yet. Check the schedule. When does stuff start? 11:30. Cool. So for the first hour, there's nothing on. It also takes you 10 minutes or less to walk around and see everything. What the fuck am I doing? Like, this is the major, this is where straight away I hit a hiccup. I'm like, so unless I want to go over there and sign up to play Just Dance, or go over there and sign up to play a retro game, things I had absolutely no interest in. It's fine if you do, but unless they were the cool thing, the things you want to do, you had nothing to do until something started happening for the first hour. So that's odd. And that's where
obviously you had VIP pass, you probably got in, or you got
I didn't even bother.
You didn't line up to get in.
No, I showed up at 10. I walked straight in.
Yeah,
there was no line. I walked in through the normal doors. I just walked in.
Okay.
I did get told that, yeah, there was a whole, like, if you had a media VIP content creator badge, you could, like, skip the slight line up in the morning, but it was not busy in the morning at 10 when I showed up. It was not, it was not line.
Okay.
So numbers I've heard thrown around. I heard 3,000, and I heard someone else say 2,400, 2,500. So if I'm meeting in the middle, and you could say, like, okay, so maybe that 3,000 includes volunteers and stuff, or something like that. But I mean, if you want to, like, even if you want to meet in the middle, the highest I've heard is 3,000 per day, and the lowest I've heard is 2,400. I mean, even if you want to meet in the middle, say 25, 2,600, still decent.
I mean, decent for the size of the venue.
First event. Yeah. So I'm sounding, the problem is, it's hard for me to talk about it without sounding negative. And that's why I struggled to sort of put together this piece to put up on the website, because I want to be like, look, all of this stuff, I think that these things are valid criticisms. The fact that I personally couldn't find anything to do, I do think is a valid criticism, because, like, it's not like I'm like, I don't want to, like, fuck all, I don't want to watch video games. I was like, I'm fine. Like, show me something I don't usually do. But none of it's on.
I'm surprised that I'm surprised there was no ESL or anybody like that there, because normally if ESL's there, I would some kind of esports production company, I would presume.
There are esports, so it's put on by these places that run smaller esports competitive stuff in Melbourne.
Yes, but they put it on. They don't put it on from a broadcast point of view or an event point of view. They put it on as something for the players. And this is where I think, from what I saw, was okay. If you were going there to play something, you were great. You were fine. If you're going to take your own PC, it's going to be a fun time for you. Whatever. But if I think one of the big comments we always say about PAX every year is, okay, remove us out of it, us kind of as content creators, as media people, out of it. If we're just your average pundit and we have the 3-day pass, is there enough stuff for us to get away with the 3-day pass? So if you were a normal pundit and you saw the advertisement for the Game Expo and you went, that sounds like something for me, fuck it, I'll just get the weekend pass. Was there enough to do in a weekend? Doesn't sound like it.
No. I feel like it would have been a lot better as one day. So you move the Apex thing, which they only had on Sunday. The creator tournament thing was only Sunday. The major tournament thing they had going on Saturday was a Rocket League one. But when my complaint is there wasn't enough to do, the easy solution to that is we'll just squeeze everything into one day, which they could have done, and then there would consistently be something happening, and you just smash it out in one day. Now, of course, they're going to be like, yeah, we'll 2 days, make more money. Maybe people can't come on Saturday, they want to come Sunday. That's fine, but I just don't feel like they had enough planned out to justify the 2 days. It really felt like they sort of stretched out what they had available into 2 days, as far as stuff that you could do. Now, the thing is, with all this said and done, I walked around, there was cosplayers out in full force. And all of them looked like they were having the absolute best time in their life. People just wandering around, consistently taking photos. I sat around, and the last thing I did before I left today on Sunday was I watched the first day I only watched a little bit and then left to go do something else. But the second day I watched the full cosplay parade thing they did on stage. There was a fuck ton of people there. They even mentioned, they're we didn't think there would be that many people here today. So just give us a minute to get organized, because they had so many people wanting to take place. And that was really good to watch. Everyone come up on stage, everyone cheering for their friends, people being scared. These little girl getting up on stage in costume by herself and, getting cheered on. There was wholesome vibes for stuff happening, right? Mm-hmm. Walk around the show floor. I mentioned this in my article. I literally overhear a conversation where these two people who had just been, as far as I could gather, they had just been in the bring your own PC section the entire day, right? Just playing games with their friends in a LAN setting. And people are crowded around these PCs. You can just hear them hollering and cheering. And, I don't know what they're doing, but they're having competitions. They're playing games together. They're talking about, I overhear literally, I love the vibe. This is way better than PAX. And I think the thing for them is it's emptier. It is easier to move around. It feels more they know everyone, that it's not
it's a smaller close-knit community event rather than
it's a very a lot of the people that were there were already involved in some of these other events like BAM and stuff like that that's put on by these other the groups running it. So there's there's a community aspect here for these people that they're eating up and loving. So yeah, for the people who this speaks to them, this the stuff that was on show was for them, I guarantee there was people there that walked away from the weekend that were this con's fucking awesome. So it's a weird one. It is honestly a weird one. But yeah, so the first day, after spending the first few hours or whatever, I pretty much admittedly, I have to mention it, because I'm not being honest. I put it's in my article as well. There's a VIP area you could get into if you were a media content creator or you brought that several $100 VIP pass. They just had free drinks up there.
like free Coke drinks and up there. Sprite, and
they had free alcoholic drinks up there. I drank enough on Saturday to cover my in my mind. I'm like, this is Melbourne. If I drink a certain amount of drinks, I've drank my flights. I've like covered my flights in drinks. So I was like, that's justified that. Even when I went back today and I was like, I did watch some of the Apex thing and I was like, oh fuck it, I want to like sit down and like start writing this article. So I just went back up there. And it's 11:30, it's close enough. Can I have Jack Daniels and Coke so I can sit down and write this article? Like it's just so yeah, I've seen people like tweeting like content creators and stuff and being like, the thing is, you got to like make sure when you talk about this, because I see people like tweeting stuff like, the show floor is like meh, but you know the media room or the VIP section was fantastic. It's like, okay, well, like yeah, for the 50 people who were allowed up there or whatever, because not only did they have free drinks up there, but they also had several tables set up with Nintendo Switch, PlayStation console, so you could like be playing games up there and stuff like that. They had all these areas set up. They had music playing. It was a full thing. So for these content creators and stuff that sat up there all day and they're like, oh, this con's amazing. I'm like, okay, is the con amazing? Or did you have a fantastic time in this area that only you and your friends who were in the quote unquote in the industry were able to participate in? So, which is fine, because I think like having a good media room, having a good VIP section, cool. That's like, I know that's not saying it can't be used as a positive, but as far as like for the average Joe showing up and stuff like that, what's that do for them? Absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I mean my main thing I left off in my article too, like at the end, my like takeaway is, you know, I did see lots of people having fun. I saw lots of people loving it. I heard people, the majority of the people I spoke to who were like upstairs content creators or like from other media places, they were pretty like fine about it, of, you know, like I thought it was going to be PAX Light, but this is what it is. It's not really for me, but I'm happy to catch up with friends. Like everyone seemed to have at least a middling, like, like
the thing is, I guess
I get to see people like
it wasn't necessarily the event that was the highlight, but it was the event being the converging point and the meeting point for people to get together and to create their own fun and to have their own fun out of it. I think is the
it was very much like if you weren't going there with friends or you weren't already part of these Smash Bros communities or these fighting game communities or whatever, like if you weren't already sort of in there, you're going to struggle. Although I saw a lot more families there than I can recall ever seeing at PAX. And maybe that's because there's less people and I spotted them more, but I think it also helped that it was less crowded. So like these families walking around with kids being like, hey, can we try this game? It was very easy for them to get in waiting a couple minutes compared to waiting half an hour to play 10 minutes of Luigi's Mansion. You know, it's not like, it doesn't really work for younger children. Whereas here, hey, you know, you hear them over the thing like, hey, we got time. If you want to come learn how to play Smash Bros, come down to the Smash Bros stage. We got pros here who can teach you how to play. So your kids on wandering all down. So there is an aspect of the less crowded, the less busy, the whatever that worked for kids. I saw on both days, overheard these really awkward conversations with parents like leading that, especially the first day. It was these 3 girls, like maybe the oldest like 12 and the other 2 like maybe 8 or so, being like led in there in full costumes and everything like that. They were like right in front of me as I'm walking in, and the mum's doing the whole like walking with them as they're like on the other side of the barricade, walking, okay, look after each other, and you know, like the whole like, and if you need to come in for air, you can just come in for air, and you look after your sister, and you know, like the full thing. So that was like, yeah, it was like she didn't come in. She must have left them there but you could tell it was like this was their first, or at least their first con by themselves, whether I guess, or maybe their first con in general. So, hopefully they had a good time. So
well, I feel like the family thing is probably more to do with the cheaper price point than, you know.
That could also be, yeah.
I feel
it's like $40 a day. I think it was.
Yeah.
That's a. I'm pretty sure for most parents, like $40 is probably a lot more easier than what PAX is like $80 a day or something. It's like literally double the price.
At least.
Yeah. So yeah, I reckon the price does help. But yeah, I can. The best thing I can say about it is if they cultivate the stuff that works. Change the marketing, because that's the major problem. Like the image, the how people viewed it, the whole like, is this PAX Lite? You have to get that shit out of people's heads. But if you want to cultivate this sort of focus around a bigger like cosplay community that was heavily out in force, cultivate this community around people who want to like Smash Bros communities and whatever else, like you take what works and you go for gold. I don't think you need to fix the whole. I don't think you need to fix it and make it so that people.
That's what you're saying.
You don't need to change everything. You don't need to make it PAX Lite. You just need to make it so that people who think it's PAX Lite know not to come. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's a bad thing to say that's not for everyone. Like I don't think the answer is to fix it so that the people complaining it wasn't for them to make it for them. You know,
just
like
open communication, just open, clear communication. Yeah. You know, maybe they did start out with the intention of being mini packs and then kind of realized as it got closer that wasn't going to be the case. You know, from their point of view, okay, do they communicate that and then have people potentially kind of cancel and ask for refunds, or do they just roll with it and hope for the best and hopefully people turn up and they enjoy themselves? I think next year will be the most important year for the Game Expo because it'll be kind of capitalizing on what they did well this time, but growing and creating a better kind of foundation and footprint for itself as an event. So yeah, it is definitely the best first year con I've ever been to. Like, even though it wasn't for me, as far as it being run, there was no, like, they didn't overbook. That was a major, like, you know what I mean? So there was already
there was a massive lines outside.
Do you think that's because there was no because it is grassroots and there was no kind of pre-existing audience? Like, if you compare it to Crunchyroll, RTX, PAX, they all have some form of pre-existing audience that's already going to know about
there's a brand.
There's a brand already.
Yeah,
I guess,
a brand.
You know, if you asked a lot of people who went to PAX, hey, do you know that there's a Game Expo coming to Melbourne? I'm going to say most people wouldn't have known. Like, I don't think I saw...
I quite often heard over those 2 days, over the weekend. I actually completely forgot this was on until a couple days prior, or I completely forgot until last week, or you know, like there's all these, like,
you know, there was from all I've read and all I've seen, it was very radio silent a little bit leading up to Game Expo. There was no, like, you know, leading up to PAX, you have guest announcements, you have scheduling, you have a map of what's going to be there, like, even if it's only a rough map.
And I think showcase all the indie games saying they're going to be there.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
And I think maybe they couldn't do that with this because I think do you think if they had put out a map of what was going to be there, and
they put out a map the week of, I think is when it went up.
Yeah, okay. And
even then, I think we were speculating before. It's like, this is not very big.
Yeah,
I thought it was like all the way at the other end of this convention center.
No.
The fact that it's in that first room only blows my fucking mind. Like,
yeah,
that for me. And I remember I watched your, like, the little 4-minute video you put up on. I don't know if it's 4 minutes, it might be 2 minutes, but on the.
I think it was like a minute.
A minute or something.
That's fine.
30, yeah.
But like, even like, just the time lapse you did over the area, I was like, wow, that looks really empty. Just because, you know, a large part of PAX is often in darkness with lots of fucking RGB and lots of, like, it looked like it was a small area, but at the same time, it didn't look cramped. And I think that was my big...
No, it definitely wasn't cramped. And it wasn't loud either. And maybe that helps with families too. There was no obnoxious, like, dudes yelling and music and whatever. Like, it wasn't, like, silent because people were talking and, like, there was, like, stuff you could hear, like, from the things at the other end if the streams was on. But, like, that whole vibe of walking to PAX is like dubstep's playing, and, you know, it's just like
there's
very,
multiple
very
music sources.
Yeah, multiple music sources and dudes yelling and whatever else. Like, PAX is very, very loud, obviously, so didn't have that going for it. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is that most of my criticisms are just relatively easy fixes, you know, like, in the scheme of things. They're mostly around messaging and communication rather than, oh my god, like,
well, it depends on what they want the show to be, I guess. If they want to be this smaller, intimate community events kind of thing, then yeah, they just need to change their messaging. If they want to be PAX Lite, then they need to change.
If they want to be PAX Lite, if they want to be PAX Lite, then all they need to do, I say it like it's super easy, but all they need to do is just get the indie games in. Like, that's it.
That would add so much more.
That would solve like a lot of trouble. I honestly, like if there was enough indie games to keep your attention to, like if it took you an entire day to play all the indie games, which you probably only need like 10 when you're lining up or whatever, and they take like half an hour to play or whatever, like you like done. That's PAX. That's more of a PAX Mini feel, you know?
Yeah.
You make the messaging, hey, we're not about AAAs. We're not have the big partners here. We've got a bunch of like up and coming, bright Australian indie developers. They're here to showcase the games for you. We've got local Smash Bros communities. We've got local Apex communities. We've got local cosplayers. You know, like you make the messaging all about we're home.
But
like
it's a Melbourne event.
Yeah, you double down on that. We're Melbourne. We're homegrown. We're community driven. We don't have these like massive backings behind us. We're not run by ReedPop or anything like that. You know, you make it very much like we're grassroots. Here's the indie devs. Here's the fucking like small teams running all this stuff. And you double down on that and you make that the messaging and people go, yeah, I can appreciate that. Fuck yeah. I want to support that. I feel like that, to me personally, that would solve that's PAX Lite. And a February PAX Lite.
Do you think the mistake is they should have called it the Melbourne Game Expo?
No, because
that would have set. I feel like that would have set expectations. Like, oh, okay,
I
it's not
feel
gonna be
like that's
a PAX thing
running where it's like, okay, do they then represent themselves as very close to the Melbourne Esports Open? And then
that's not their problem.
I think it could be though, because if you represent yourself as close to the Melbourne Esports Open, and then the Melbourne Esports Open,
what? Because they're in Melbourne?
No, but
because they got Melbourne in the title of the expo.
Yeah, but like, do you then represent is like, I don't know. I think you put yourself too closely to that event, and that event was fantastic. That event was awesome for a first time event. Like, and it's very close to what they originally had advertised themselves as, in terms of esports and gaming and that kind of community building. Like, sure, the Esports Open didn't have like the computer areas and stuff like that, but it was still very.
The thing is about messaging, and if someone went to the Esports Open or they went to the DreamHack or something, it was like, I had nothing to do. I hate watching esports. You'd be like, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
why did you come then? Why are you here? Yeah.
Why did you come? Yeah. So for the people saying that about the Game Expo, I can't like disagree, because I'd be like, nah, you're right. The marketing, the messaging was a bit confusing. Like, you sort of have the right to be like, I thought this was something else, you know. So the only people who I've seen be like, oh, didn't you realize it's run by Kanga Esports? It's like, well, who the fuck? Like, no offense, but unless you went on the website and the about section and stuff, if you ain't ever looked at the front page of the website, saw the Twitters and everything, the videos, the marketing, everything, it made it look PAX Lite. So to have to be like, oh, you didn't click on the website in the about section and see who's running it and then look up who they are and discover that they're like a small Melbourne, like, it's like, no, of course not. Most people aren't doing that.
Who knows who runs Supernova and PAX and those sort of events? You know,
unless you're like in the industry, I guess you don't. Really know. Like the average person isn't like, oh yeah, that's run by ReedPop or whatever. You know, that's run by that group, etc., etc., etc.
All right.
So, yeah, that was the Game Expo.
So do you think they come back next year? Do you think this was successful enough?
Oh yeah, I think it was success. I think as far as attendance, I think as far as the majority of the people I saw on the floor, everyone having a great time who was there. The people being negative about it, it's a very small, minute.
Well, it
section
sounds like
that
the
I've seen
people
on
who
Twitter.
were negative left straight away. So I mean,
yeah, and most of the people being negative were like either content creators or like media or something. To be honest, like as far as I could see, they were like they didn't pay anyway. From what I could see on Twitter,
some people like flew in for the event and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, no, and that's like you can be like, that would be annoying. But from what I saw on the floor, the majority of the people who were there were enjoying themselves. From what I gathered from my very brief conversation and overhearing from I can't remember his fucking name now, Justin something. Anyway, he's the technical director. He was upstairs at the DIP. He sounded like happy with it, right? Very awkward that I'm sitting there like sort of eavesdropping on a conversation he's having with someone in that area while sitting there on my laptop going,
well, maybe I could put this in this article.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely think it comes back next year, and that they will hopefully just either, as I said, there's two directions to go.
I think next year's obviously make or break. It's like,
yeah, next year's make or break. Next year's break or break. And they've got two directions: double down this direction, or fix it and make it the PAX Lite. Whatever they want to do, that's fine.
They
just
can't be in the middle.
You can't be in the middle, and you got to fix the marketing and fix the messaging and that sort of thing, because that's the major problem. But as far as a show being run, there was enough people on the floor. I saw enough volunteers. If you needed help, you would have been able to find it. There were people like pulling, like it's, like the core concepts of running and considering how hard, these things are hard to put together, right? They're hard to fucking organize. Let's not like say that running something like this would be piss easy. Like I'm criticizing it as someone who runs a gaming website who wants to.
You gotta be honest about it, right? It would come off.
I gotta be honest.
You see people from media outlets and from various content creators tweet out, who you almost feel like they should be putting hashtag ad at the bottom of the tweet, because they're like, just about to go see what's happening on the awesome show floor of action-packed things at the Game Expo today. And then you're like, you compare that tweet to like the understanding of what's actually out at the show floor, and you go, okay, one of these things does not match up.
Yeah, I'm being honest, but at the same time, I do want it to be a success, because I think having a homegrown convention that's not overseen or doesn't have any sort of input by international groups or anything like that, like having something like that at the start of the year, that's awesome. That's like why wouldn't anyone want that to be successful? Like, there's no reason to not want the show to be successful. But at the same time, the only way to make it successful is for people to properly criticize, and hopefully the people running it like look through tweets, they read my story, like I don't read other people's stories, like take it with the right, however you say it, and just do it better next year, because I want it to be a success.
All right.
Just the first year is never the first year of any con is never a success.
Or rarely.
Rarely, yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up the episode, I want to talk about PsychOdyssey. So this is the new Double Fine documentary. Well, I guess it's not new. It came out like a month ago.
Okay, this makes way more sense. Well, I saw this in show notes when I was jumping on my plane, and I was like, why does he want to talk about an episode of Psych? Because I literally Googled PsychOdyssey, and there's an episode of Psych called Odyssey.
Yeah, there's not a space between the two words. It's PsychOdyssey. Okay. So this is the documentary on the making of Psychonauts 2 over at Double Fine. By Player 2, I never watched the Double Fine Adventures series that they made about the making of Broken Age. But I
watched those ones. They were really good.
Yeah, so this is pretty much the sequel of that. And this is very, very good. I think it's on par with like any of the sporting documentary series. Like, if you're a fan of Drive to Survive or something like that, I think this is comparable.
What's it on? YouTube?
It's on YouTube. So there's 31 episodes.
Fucking hell.
Varying in length from 20 minutes to an hour and a half.
Are they in a playlist?
Yeah, they're in a playlist. Just documenting
Can you track it?
Sorry?
Can you track it?
Probably.
Okay. It's not worth watching if I can't track it.
That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting look at the making of video games, because it very much starts from the conception of, hey, let's just make Psychonauts 2. It's been 10 years. I want to make the game, and then the process of Tim Schafer making it. Definitely a look into the office culture of Double Fine, and how how incredibly balanced that was, and how bringing in an outside force kind of shook things up, because they bring in a outside project lead to kind of lead the project, while Tim, one, writes the game, two, runs as studio head and tries to keep Double Fine from going under. Because, at the time, Double Fine was a company that was, it wasn't exactly raking in the big bucks and had financial security. So they had, obviously, were in the process of finding a publisher to Psychonauts while they were running the FIG fundraising projects. And yeah, just the slow process of making the game, and how the struggles of making that game, and how they made a lot of mistakes in this process. Well, there were a lot of, in retrospect, mistakes made, whether it was personnel-wise, whether it was designing levels in a way that didn't make sense, or were poorly creatively chosen, and just, I feel like watching this documentary series gave me a more appreciation of the process of making video games, and reinforce the idea that any of these video games that kind of comes out is kind of a miracle. And yeah, I think it's also interesting because obviously Double Fine is a very creative focused studio. A lot of the games come from a creative or creator point of view, rather than some other studios that are a design or engineering or that kind of stuff first, with story and creative kind of next, like a Call of Duty or something like that. So yeah, I think just watching the entire series through, crazy. And then obviously we all know the trials and tribulations of Double Fine. They signed a deal with Starbreeze, a publisher that went under very quickly, and then they obviously got acquired by Microsoft, and that's all kind of included in the process. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting watch. My God, it's interesting because it seems like every episode somebody quits. They make a big deal about that. It's wow, there's a lot of turnover in the video game industry. Whether it was just this project, that, a lot of people feel like they needed to leave. And also, this is a studio in San Francisco. So, the cost of living is not exactly the cheapest kind of thing. Also kind of major kind of, I feel like this is as bad as certain things kind of got at times. It, kind of a showcase of why the workplace environment is so important to certain games and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would recommend checking it out. Obviously, it is a commitment. 31 episodes is a lot.
How long do you reckon it is if they're varying length? Total?
Let me have a look. Let's see if our good friends at Tract have a number.
What's it called again?
PsychOdyssey, all one word.
PsychOdyssey.
Says Tract has it at 22 hours, 31 minutes.
Holy fuckaroni.
So yeah.
Alright, I'll watch it by the end of the year.
I mean, I was watching a couple episodes a day, while I was working on other stuff, so yeah, it's a lot. And there's also one of the episodes is only 30 seconds, so that directs you to an hour and a half episode, Amnesia Fortnite movie. So Amnesia Fortnite's this game jam thing they do with Double Fine.
Yeah, that's how most of their games happen. Stacking, costume quest,
so
all that shit.
But yeah, very fascinating. Definitely worth watching. I would, just to see how the ideas for the game came together. And as someone who has not played Psychonauts, and probably isn't not going to unlikely to play Psychonauts 2 anytime soon.
Disappointing.
There's a lot.
You should.
I mean, I feel kind of obligated after watching this. Maybe I can experience a lot of this, but also I've seen a bunch of stuff. I know about. I think this would be interesting for you because a lot of the stuff kind of got cut, or redone. One of the levels is based on one of the Amnesia Fortnite games. So that's very interesting, and seeing how the ideas kind of sprung out, the storybook stuff and that kind of stuff. So, and how they kind of pulled that off, and how some of the visuals are kind of pulled off, the special effects and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is not an easy road to the game being made, which of course, a game that you think you're going to put out in a couple of years and it stretches out to 7 years is not something is clearly not worked out in the process. So yeah, that is, as I think, any game loving fans should definitely check this documentary series out. As far as I'm aware, it's probably the best look at the making of a video game that's been put out there. So yeah. All right, that's everything for this week's Arcade Couch.
Wrong.
What?
Ciaran, what do you think of the winners of the Stream Awards?
I think overall it's a great event. I think largely it's a primarily fan voted for event with, of course, a judging panel, but I don't think anything won out of the blue or out of the unexpected. Kai Cenat getting stream.
Read you I was about to say, I'll do the top 3 Stream of the Year nominees were XQC, Asanabi, Kai Nat, German 985. Kai won,
which is kind of expected.
Not surprising. Literally the biggest streamer of the last
he's the biggest streamer ever on Twitch. He went over 300k subscribers.
Got the most
for his subathon. Like it's kind of
dude is racking in millions of dollars. Gamer of the Year. You know what I appreciate about this? They actually have like good descriptions. It's like streamer that has extraordinary gaming abilities and excel at games over the past year. No matter what game they're playing, you just have to watch. Streamer of the Year, the best overall streamer for the past year. They saw great success with their entertaining content, elevated their brand, and in general left their mark on viewers. I appreciate the non.
Well, I think
like what the fuck? What's the nominees for this? Like
the thing is, right, where this comes from is it is a streamer creates this. Cutie Cinderella creates the Stream Awards off her own back. And she's heavily involved with the setup and the organization.
Well, her and Maya did last year, and this year it was her and
Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Valkyrie, the fact that Cutie, I think it has some of the best awards. I really wish stuff like the video game awards would like kind of look at the awards that this gives out and like see the care and the detail from it. Like, and I love how they do it. And I know the video game awards do their own version of it, but I feel like over the years they've just lost a lot of compassion and their specialness around it. There's the best the best charity stream. It's got a better word and I can't say it, but best charity stream or best charity event.
It was best
philanthropic.
Philanthropic. There we go. Thank you.
Philanthropic stream event,
or
which went to a 500-mile cyclothon by Sea Dog.
Yeah, by Connor Dog, voice actor. And then
they did the best live event thing, which went to the chess boxing thing.
For Lud. And then there's stuff like Hidden Gem Award, which is like an award created for a smaller streamer to give a spotlight to them, and to not just a spotlight to them, but like this announced a month beforehand. So in that month, people are going to each of these streamers and checking them out and watching and stuff and voting for them that way after the nominations. I think it's a really fun way to go, and kind of a league of their own is like celebrating people who do streaming in a different way. Your Ludwigs, your Will Neffs, your Nick NMP LOL. It's just, I feel like this does such a respectful and great way, because it's made by somebody within the community, of respecting and celebrating its streamers and respecting and celebrating the culture that has grown around streaming at a rapid pace over the last couple of years.
So I don't know half these people, but I appreciate the show. I thought it was good last year. I thought this year was good as well. I skipped through some of it while I was at the airport.
The fact that they went through the effort for Cutie to have iPad set up for VTubers to be a part of the show, so that like VTubers were like full setups with web cameras, with microphones, and that they could be brought up to collect it. I thought Ludwig bringing up Iron Mouse to collect her award was like the cutest shit in the world. And if anybody don't know about Iron Mouse's story, go and look into her, because she it's a great story, and I think to see the different ways they're being brought forward into the streaming world in general, I think is fantastic.
It was also a very funny show. Cutie had a joke at some point where she said she hadn't seen this many millionaires sitting in a room jerking each other off since watching Kai's subathon, which I thought was a very good joke. So that's it.
No, she. I
was like, there's at least some there's. I appreciate the acknowledgement that it's a bunch of really like I know I was like, oh, streaming, like we're not real celebrities. Like, yeah, but like most of you are millionaires. Like, let's be real. Like don't fuck around. So Yeah, good, decent show. Good categories. Good. The way it was run was good. Also appreciated Kitty being on Twitter, being like, "Hey, you can restream the stream if you want, but if you were invited and you're choosing not to come, you're not allowed to restream it." I love that whole like, you cannot be fucking lazy. If you're nominated for an award and I've invited you, you can't sit at home and fucking make content
Especially
out of my
with,
shit.
like, one of her big
reacts
things she kind of, I saw she tweeted yesterday, was like her frustration about the amount of people that cancelled on her the day before.
Yeah, at the last minute. Then like she's like, do you know how annoying it is like to set up table placements and all this stuff and use a canceling in the last minute? I was sort of loving her Twitter and just openness of being like, you motherfuckers like don't appreciate how much work goes into this. And I'm like,
because streamers are just kind of widely known to be flaky and to be just terrible to organize.
There's a bunch of fucking nerds, like half of these people. They fucking just want to sit at home. Like apart from like Lol Tyler, who just, you know, I don't know.
Yep.
For sure, he's fine to come out and yell. He'll take the awards for everyone. There's the amount of people that I used to watch like regularly on it. There's like Lol Tyler I used to watch like,
Tyler
and then the other dude who won was Box, who I remember watching on. I remember watching play League when he had like a couple hundred max streamers, and he won an award for best strategy streamer. So I don't know. People come some way. It's crazy. Times change. Anyway, you can end the show now. I just thought I'd bring that up quickly.
No, that's good. Didn't know. I forgot. All right, let us know any questions or comments for the show by tweeting at us at ExplosionPod on Twitter, or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support and buy us a coffee. And if you want to help us out here at Arcade Couch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars anywhere you can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. All right. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you here next week. Same time, same couch. On time next time, Dylan.
Hey, appreciate the fact that I literally just jumped on you out of nowhere.